Okay, I'm going to start. My name is Jane Clark, and I moderate this unruly group. This is our first I-MDRC Journal Club for the year. We have another one scheduled in October. I direct you to the I-MDRC website, which Donna very nicely puts together. Thank you very much, Donna. I'm pleased to welcome our colleagues from Jyväskylä, Finland, which I'll just point out to everyone else, as we think about time zones, for David, it's what, noon in California, and for our Finnish friends, it's 10 p.m. at night, and it's well past their bedtime. So we appreciate the fact that they would adjust this for us, and appreciate that. So I will let them introduce themselves and their colleagues. You can see from the presentation here, the title, and she'll tell you where it appeared, which was in the Journal of Sports Sciences. I live in the state of Maryland, and it is my requirement to say that this is being recorded. We're also using AI. I don't know what that's going to do for us, probably to tell us what we just did. And anyhow, this will be available eventually, thanks to Donna's wonderful tech skills, not only on the website, but eventually on YouTube sometime. So, and I'm sure it'll be on YouTube since she's in charge of this. So again, thank you, Nanne-Mari. It's over to you. Thank you again for doing this. Appreciate this. And I'll mute myself and ask everybody to mute themselves, except, of course, our speakers.
So thank you. So hello, everyone. My name is Nanne-Mari Luukkainen, and I am the PhD student at the University of Jyväskylä, Finland. I have been working with children's sport and physical activity for over 10 years. During that time, I started to feel that something has changed. So it seems like children's motor skills and overall physical activity levels were declining. And because of this, I started to research the topic more deeply, which eventually led me back to the university to do my doctoral thesis. This article, which I'm presenting today, is the second publication for my doctoral dissertation, and it focuses on children's outdoor time and multisport participation and how they predict motor competence 3 years later. So over the past decades, concerns have grown regarding children's physical activity levels and their motor competence. As a key foundation for lifelong physical activity, health and well-being, motor competence is the primary development during childhood and continues to evolve through life. It improves with age through the learning and practice, supporting and adoption, and maintains for a physical activity lifestyle. However, despite its importance, there is still limited longitudinal research on how everyday behaviors such as non-organized physical activity like outdoor time and organized physical activity like multisport participation affect motor development over time. So let me briefly introduce my co-authors before we begin with this study. So Arto is a senior lecturer at the university and also my main supervisor for the PhD project. Donna works as a postdoctoral researcher, and she's also online, and so I told her that she can add anything that comes to mind if I especially forget something. And Arja is a professor here, and she's my second supervisor. So in Finland,
can I jump in for 1 second? If you have any questions, we're going to leave the questions to the end. You can add your questions into the chat box, and we'll come back to them later. I'm sorry I didn't say that to start with. My apologies for interrupting you.
Yep, no problem. So in Finland, we have strong tradition of encouraging physical activity in early childhood, but even here, changes in lifestyle and screen time has started to influence children's movement patterns. And this study was designed to explore how outdoor time and multisport participation in early childhood predict motor competence 3 years later in school age. We research both the main effect and the interactions effect of organized sport participation and outdoor time on motor competence. We also examined whether there were any gender differences in these associations. Based on previous literatures and practical experiences, we hypothesized that both outdoor time and multisport participation would independently predict higher motor competence, and that this association might differ between boys and girls. So this study was a part of a larger longitudinal research project conducted in Finland. In this picture, you can see the map of Finland, and the dots indicate all the locations where measurements was conducted. So we wanted to get a comprehensive sample from different locations across Finland. All time points were we have 23 different localities. The localities were selected based on their geographical location and residential density. Geographically, the regions were divided in the metropolitan area, southern Finland, central Finland, and northern Finland. And it based on postal codes. Based on the population density, we categorized the areas in the metropolitan area, cities, rural areas, and countrysides. This way, we ensure that comprehensive sample from across the country. So the data for this study comes from several measurement points. At the first time point, the baseline, we assessed 950 children, and the children were then aged 3 to 8 years old, and we measured them from 37 different kindergartens. The same children were measured again during their early school years, 3 years later, when they were between 6 and 11 years old, but actually most of them was 7 to 10 years old. And at the same time point, we conducted measurements in nearly 100 different schools and collect data from 675 children. So nowadays, we have also a third time follow-up measurement point, and we conducted it 3 years later during the final years of primary school. About my third dissertation article is based on the 3 measurement points and examines the comparison of physical activity, physical fitness, and motor skills between profiles of sport participation and outdoor time across 9 years of childhood. We submitted this article about a month ago, so if you are interested in the topic, that is something to look forward. So, however, at this presentation, we will focus on the first 2 measurement points. And the first data collection was 2015 and 16, and the follow-up measurement was 2018 and 20. So, through the study, we collect a lot of data, including motor skills, perceived motor competence, various parental reported questionnaires, physical activity, and much more. Because the measurements have been extensive, we have to make some compromises with certain variables. For example, in the case of motor skills, we selected only a subset of tests rather than at the full battery, main due to time constraints during data collection. However, the tests were carefully selected based on their ability to best represent the specific qualities we wanted to ask. Next, I will present you through the methods used in this study and explain what was examined at the each stage. So at the first measurement points, we used a parental questionnaires to examine children's participation in organized sports, as well as their non-organized physical activity through outdoor time. So the sport participation was measured by asking from children's parents, does your children engage in organized sport in any group or sports club? Parents answered either yes or no. And if they answered yes, they were asked to provide more details about children's sport activities, including what sport children participate and how often. Based on this information, we were able to determine how many different sports each children was involved in. This allowed to us to categorize the children into three groups. Those who do not participate in organized sport, those who participate in only one sport, and those who participate in multiple sport. That group was called by multisport participation. And the outdoor time was used as a key indicator of children's non-organized physical activity, as Finnish children are culturally known to have the highest level of independent mobility in the world. So we assessed outdoor time using parental questionnaires, focusing on how much time children typically spend outdoors on weekdays and weekends. So parents were asked to question like, on average, how much time does your children spend outdoors on weekdays after daycare? And how much time does your child spend outdoors on weekends? And these responses gave us a good estimate to their daily outdoor activity outside of the organized settings. So for weekdays, the response options were none, less than 30 minutes per day, about 30 to 16 minutes per day, and more than 16 minutes per day. And for weekends, the scale include two additional categories, 1 to 2 hours per day and more than 2 hours per day. At the second measurement point, we assessed children's motor skills. So we measured balance skills, locomotor skills, and object control skills. Balance skills were assessed using the jumping sideways test from KTK battery, where children were asked to jump over the small wooden beam as many times as possible within 50 seconds. And locomotor skills were measured using the DKMD3 test for hopping and skipping. And object control skills were assessed with two tasks, one hand strategically tripling and overhand throwing. And these assessments were conducted during the school day. By combining data from both organized sport participation and outdoor activity, we wanted to understand how these early lifestyle factors predict motor skills development when children grow. And the participants, so we include 627 participants in the final analysis. So these were children whose parents had given a permission to combine data from both datasets 1 and 2, and who had a valid information of the main study variables like parental questionnaires and motor competence. And about the half of the participants were girls. So when we look at the descriptive data, some interesting gender difference emerged. For example, boys were more active outdoors during weekdays, although there were no statistically different differences on weekends, but those boys still tended to spend slightly more time outdoors than girls. And in contrast, girls were more active in organized sport. About 60% of children participate in sports group-based sport activities, and compared to 52% of the boys participate in organized sport activities. And when it comes to motor competence, we found no gender differences in balance skills. However, girls performed better in locomotor tasks, while boys showed stronger skills in object control. These findings provide a useful background to understanding how different types of physical activity, both organized and non-organized, may relate it to motor skills development later in childhood. About results. So this figure shows the results related to sport participation. In the parental questionnaire, we looked at how children in early childhood education were involved in organized sport. We found that multisport participation, that meaning that children participate more than one sport, was the most significant factor. That's why we decided to take a closer look at it. So we wanted to see how multisport participation in early childhood predicts motor competence later on when children are in grades 1 to 3. So we found that early participation in organized sport, especially multisport, was a strong predictor of better motor competence 3 years later. Children who engage in more than one sport showed a significantly higher score in all areas of motor competence: balance skills, locomotor skills, and object control skills. In contrast, children who participate in only one sport did not show the same level of improvement, even they improve still, but not so much. In practice, we found that children who participate in 2 or more sports has jumping sideways scores was about 5 points higher, which equals about 10% differences compared to their peers who didn't participate in organized sport. And when we looked at locomotor and object control skills scores, the differences between non-participation and multisport children range from 10 to 15%. So the results clearly shows there's a consistent link between multisport participation and better motor competence in early school years. So then about outdoor time, we also examined non-organized physical activity, focusing especially on the amount of time that children spend outdoors during weekdays. Interestingly, outdoor time turned to be a significant predictor of motor competence, but only for girls. Girls who spend about 30 to 60 minutes outdoor each day showed a better performance in both balance and object control skills. In practice, this means that girls in the 30 to 60 minute outdoor group had over 8% higher score in the jumping sideways test and nearly 15% higher scores in object control skills compared to those who spent less than 30 minutes outdoor. And for boys, however, weekday outdoor time did not show a clear association with motor competence development. We also looked at outdoor time during weekends, but we didn't not found similar associations. In other words, weekend outdoor time did not predict motor competence in either gender. This findings suggests that regular weekday outdoor time may play a more meaningful role in supporting motor skills development, at least for girls. And then we were curious to see whether combining organized sport and outdoor activity would have a synergistic effect. So in other words, whether doing both would lead to even better motor competence. But interestingly, we didn't find a significant interactions. So this means that both forms of activity seems to support motor development independently rather than amplifying each other's effects. And then some discussions. So based on these findings, we can draw several key conclusions about the role of different types of physical activity in children's motor development. So first, participation in multisport appears to be a strong predictor of motor competence across all domains. This likely reflects the benefits of being exposed to a wider variety of movement patterns, motor challenges, and skill demands. Children who engage in different types of sport may develop more versatile motor skills simply because they practice on a broader range of movement. And the second, outdoor time showed predictive values only for girls. So girls who spent over 30 minutes outdoor on weekdays had a better score in both balance and object control skills. This gender-specific effort may be related to differences in how boys and girls engage in outdoor play. For example, the types of activities they choose or the level of intensity. It's also possible that girls benefit more from non-organized movement opportunities, whereas boys may gain motor experiences through other channels. It also worth notice that boys on average spend more time outdoors than girls, and this may partly explain why outdoor time did not show a significant association with motor competency in boys. They might already be reaching a threshold where attitudinal outdoor time no longer leads to measurable differences in motor skills development. And the third, when we look at whether organized sport and outdoor time interacts, meaning whether doing both would lead to even better outcomes, we found no significant interaction effect, and this suggests that both types of physical activity support motor development independently. In other words, they are both valuable, but they don't necessarily amplify each other effects. So taken together, these results highlight the importance of offering children diverse opportunities for movement both through organized sport and free outdoor play. Encourage variety in physical activity, may be especially beneficial for motor skills development, and understanding gender differences can help tailor interventions more effectively. And then to conclude, our findings show that participation in more than one sport, especially in multisport and spending time outdoors during weekdays, are both significant predictors of motor competence in childhood. These results highlight the importance of providing children with diverse opportunities for movement. From a practical perspective, this underlies the needs of coaches, teachers, motor activities. At the same time, families play a key and participation in organized sport and in encouraging outdoor play as part of everyday life. So together, these environments, organized and non-organized, form the basis for the healthy motor development. And the practical implications. So finally, based on these findings, there are several practical implications to consider. First, we should encourage multi-sport participation and avoid early sport specialization, variety in movement patterns for motor development. Second, supporting daily outdoor time is especially important for girls, as it was linked to better motor competency in this study. Providing diverse movement experience in the early years, we can build a strong foundation for lifelong physical activity. And the third, it is important to recognize and support gender-specific strengths in motor development. Promoting equal opportunities for physical activity across gender ensures that all children have the chance to develop their motor skills in ways that suit their individual needs and preferences. So, if you are more interested in this, so you can read the whole article here. And to conclude, we would like to thank all the Skillet Kids and Active Family participants and their families, as all staff members involved in data collection. Without their contribution, this research would not have been possible. I would also like to personally thank my co-authors for their collaboration and valuable input throughout the project. So thank you for your time and interesting, and I am happy to take questions and comments.
Thank you. That was very good, very interesting. Can we unshare your screen so we can be all in the same space, I think?
Yep.
We could come back to it if somebody had a particular question on one of your slides, but it's okay. And those of us who are English speakers, to commend you on being able to speak and give a talk in another language. I was going to ask you to just say something in Finnish, but then I thought, no, don't do that. Okay, so one of the questions already in the chat box from the Michigan lab group is, were there any differences or trends you saw in the data that correlated to the specific sports that children participated in? And I'm going to ask a question just before that, which is, Can you give us some examples of the sports that they played? Because I couldn't see that in paper and in what you talked about, but also whether there were gender differences in the sports that participated in. For example, in the United States, boys will play baseball, but girls might play softball, but it's not quite the same. But they all play soccer or football, as you would call it.
Yeah, actually, I think that Donna has researched that more, that Donna knows more specific what kind of sport children, boys and girls have. But there were a lot of different, there were dancing and ice hockey and football and gymnastics, swimming. So
also wrestling in children is very common in Finland.
Wrestling?
Yeah.
Wrestling,
Yeah.
it's like nassikkapaini, which is it's based on motor skills, but many times it's with your parent, so you have that kind of coordinative and tasks that you do. So it's quite maybe it's quite unique. But there are many athletics is also very common, but many of those are sport clubs that are based on fundamental movement skills, and then they have elements about some typical sports, but the gender differences is quite easily seen already before school age. So in girls, there are more ballet, different kind of dance hobbies. Swimming is quite often mentioned also, and skating also, and
ice
during
skating, yeah.
the ice skating, and then during the school years, skaters specialize in figure skating, and then ice hockey or other sports. And then in boys, you definitely see when you look at our data that there is many ball related hobbies. So Finnish baseball is also one of the common things that they practice, football, and then pretty early also ice hockey.
What basketball? Do they play basketball?
Yeah, and it's growing all the time because we have Laukkanen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
We have
interesting
had
because
good-
actually
swimming is often
growing.
something we do, but it's never mentioned it can't be tested in the TGMD. Swimming, that is, and yet it's very good for your cardiovascular system. So, okay, I want to go back.
And we are surrounded by thousands of lakes, so swimming ability is very crucial for us. Yeah.
Well, and your ice hockey would be really quite unique. I mean, very good for balance, of course, and with the stick, of course, with the manipulation. But I was interesting that you chose the overhand throw because I always think of that as very culturally American because of our baseball throwing. And in
we have also Finnish baseball.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So it's quite well. It has similar elements, and we have like javelin throwing. So we are that kind of country that we throw.
Throw.
So it's very common for us. The overhand throw.
Okay, so another question. First of all, congratulations on your presentation. I'm not sure I can say this person's name. Why don't you just ask your question yourself? Nashiga, I'm not sure. You're on mute right now, but Kirk, do you know who I'm talking about? There we go.
Yes.
Yes, can you just ask your question to them directly?
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. It is a very valuable study. I want to ask, you said that outdoor time predicted motor competence in girls, but
Yeah.
not in boys. In your opinion, what might be the key social, cultural, or environmental factors that explain these gender differences?
Can I before
Yeah.
you Nanne-Mari comment? Just one of the things that I want to highlight here is that the outdoor time that we ask, especially during the weeks, so that was afterwards the childcare center, and so the time that they spent is quite narrow, or low, but during the childcare day, normally Finnish children spend time outdoors from 1 to 3 hours per day.
Wow.
Before they go to home, and so we ask only the evening time and the outdoor time during the evenings. So that was one of the things that I wanted to highlight.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Nanne-Mari.
it's when they go home, when they go outside. And you're saying
Yeah.
that the girls who go outside more in the evening, they have a better competency score than the boys. Do you think there are gender differences between how much they both go outside? Yes.
Yes, I have it here. I can show it. Can I share?
Mm-hmm. You can.
What? Where is the button?
Yeah. It's our technology questions.
There
Yeah,
is.
it is. Okay.
Yep. So can you see it now?
Uh-huh.
Yep. So here's the outdoor time in week and weekend. So boys spend much more time in outdoors after the daycare than girls, and I think that's that is the reason that boys are more active in outdoors, that they like reach the level already, and girls are not so active on outdoors during the weekdays. So if they spend more outdoors, then it predicts. But so there is more differences between girls than between boys. So I think that this could be the reason, and boys playing outdoors and this kind of things more than maybe girls go more like organized sport and this kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things that we noticed from our data is that already before school age, so girls went more frequently in organized sports. So they were very often taken to dance classes, for example, or other hobbies. And then I think that this is also from my experience with my children, but I feel a bit that girls are more eager of doing some fine motor skills like drawing and that sort of things indoors, while boys are playing more floorball or just playing with the stick, and is it ice hockey or floorball, or football. And because they do it, they need, like boys need a group that they can do that. so many times that social aspect is inviting them to spend more time outdoors. And then also one of the things that, well, this is speculative, but many times I think, I don't know if you, Nanne-Mari, agree, but boys spend time in bigger groups, while girls prefer like to be in smaller groups and doing different kind of things. And one of the interesting finding, I'm just writing a discussion of another article, and I found that in one Danish article, they looked at the schoolyards and how pupils and children use schoolyards, and also there you saw that boys were more driven on football courts or that kind of places in the schoolyard where they can play together, be socially together. And also some of the girls wanted to participate, but because of there is that kind of competition, like, or they feel that there is that kind of competitive atmosphere, they may more easily be left out. But then girls were more using in the schoolyards, like the places where they can do the rolling and, you know, climbing and that kind of thing. So I think it's the physical space, but it's also like social places that somehow they differ. I don't know how you feel in other cultures, but these are
There's at least one study, and I can't tell you the citation, but where they looked at what children were doing in the US during daycare, just preschool. So the young children, and they found boys were in large groups playing lots of gross motor skills, kinds of things. Not skills because it was preschooler, but lots of big activities. And the girls were standing around talking to each other or doing small things together rather than large kind of activities. And they were very segregated. They were boys in one part of the playground and girls in the other. It was just a naturalistic study, and it was a few years ago, but it was clearly what you're saying in the sense of differences in what they choose to be doing and also how it plays into their physical skills. So when you said floor hockey, did you call it? Is that like
floorball.
ice hockey, floorball? Is that like
Yeah.
playing ice hockey, but with the ball on a floor, a gym floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that too. Do they play field hockey in Finland?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because that's actually an Olympic sport. I think in India it's a big sport. I might be wrong on that, but certainly it's a big sport in England for women. But I think it's an Olympic sport for both men and women. I might be wrong. Somebody can correct me on that. But okay, other questions?
Thank you
There's
for
another.
explaining.
Yes.
Yeah, can I follow up on that one too? Because the well, one thing I was going to say, Jane, there's an much older study from the 90s that looked at gender differences in children's behavior on the playground, and that found that the boys tended to be way more competitive with each other. So they're all, trying to race each other and jump higher than each other and, really push each other to excel. Whereas the girls were much more likely to be doing cooperative things together. I think that was one of the biggest differences. But back to the follow-up, the thing that really stood out to me was that the outdoor time in the girls predicted better object control skills. And you measured dribbling and throwing.
Yeah.
And so it just seemed to me like if I could see if the girls were participating in organized sports that involved dribbling and throwing, you'd expect that relation. But if they're just playing outdoors and they're doing the sorts of things that you said they generally do outdoors, I wouldn't have expected to see the outdoor time predicting object control skills. So have you got any thoughts on why that relation was there in the data?
That is very interesting, and that you underlined that, and I thank you for the comment. Maybe I have been wondering, and then Nanne-Mari can also say what she thinks, but I was wondering if, like, those, because we know that there are girls that want to participate and go to play with the ball and with boys, no matter what gender they are. So if these girls are those that know, like, that involve also in are more encouraged to, and motivated and want to participate, for example, in boys' activities or games. That is one thought, because just like you said, it's a bit surprising result. What do you think, Mari?
Yeah, maybe I haven't think in that aspect. Maybe I have more think why it wasn't a locomotor skills and why it was object control skills, and based on that I think that because they are in school, the locomotor skill level are high, so it doesn't maybe then it doesn't predict anymore, and that's why object control skills are the motor skills who predicts. But this is that is good point. So we have to think about it more.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it's possible that I mean, unless you're actually observing them during their outdoor time and seeing what they're doing, I mean, maybe they're skipping rocks or throwing, doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I had another question too that just relates to your age bands. So I mean, well, first of all, I wanted to say bravo on doing this study and conducting a longitudinal study for 9 years. That is phenomenal. Like, tip my hat to you and say congratulations too on actually accomplishing that. But back to the question. So you started looking at children when they were 3 to 8. So I'm just assuming that you didn't have that many 3, 4, and 5-year-olds that are participating in multiple sports. Or am I wrong there? I mean, is it common in Finland for children to start organized sport as young as 3 and 4 and 5?
Yeah, no, mainly the first time point and the baseline data. Mainly the children during the baseline were 5 to 6 years old, like at least half of the children or even more. And about the multi-sport participation, would you mind, Nanne-Mari, to say, is it like in 1 week or within 1 year, or how did you categorize the multi-sports, and couple of reflections maybe about that, and how we discussed about how we can, categorize it, because the question in our questionnaire was it wasn't specific on.
It was that how many is your children participate in organized sport, but the answers were like many parents thinking that it it's like whole year, because there was like summer sport and winter sport, and at the same time children necessary don't participate in multisport, but it could be like that she has winter sport and she has summer sport, and they were not the same time. So
Okay.
there about half was that kind of things, and then there was also in same week they have multisports.
Yeah, so that was I think one of the limitations, and one of the things that we learned, that we could, like, we have to be more specific on that. But I think mainly the children were 5 to 6 years old and had 1 or 2 sports, but they were like, it's very common that for example, 5-year-old has a hobby, but it's different during the summertime. It can be athletics or swimming, and then during the winter, it can be ice skating or something else. So
yeah, and they have maximum of 4 different sports. So mostly they have 1 or 2. And now I forget what I about the sports. What you just said, Donna?
I was just saying that most of the children may have like different sport hobby during summer and then winter. So that is very common.
Yeah.
Thing to have.
Yeah.
So it
Well, it's
might be
helpful to know about the age band too. That was most common at the beginning, because I did have a question too about your analysis and whether you controlled for age in the analysis, because I'm assuming that the older children participated in more sports than the younger children. So I assume then you accounted for age when you looked at that relation then between the sport participation and motor competence.
So was it that question?
Oh, it's just that I'm assuming that age is probably confounded with the number of sports they're participating in, and so you'd want to control for age when you're running the analysis.
Yeah. So we also control age the analysis of motor skills, but not in sports participation.
Yeah.
But we should do that also.
Okay, so if you could share your screen for a moment. And then I'm going to make an editorial comment about, or a question and an editorial comment about the locomotor skills. So in 1921, Dudley Sargent published a paper called A Test of a Man, and it's a standing vertical jump. And and I wondered why you picked hopping. You know, I'm a big fan of, it's very American to do the long distance or the overhand throw, but I'm a very big fan of the standing vertical jump where you put your hand up and see if you can jump beyond your hand, kind of thing. And I wondered why you didn't look at, because it's a body management and it's also your ability to power yourself up. Comment. I know you can only test what you can test, but
yeah.
And I like the fact you use the KKK one, the back and forth one, which is, I think, a very good one as well. But I was a little surprised at hopping.
Yeah. So Arto did some analysis in the first baseline data, when we look at the tests like the motor skills, so we used the full measure of
The TGMD.
yeah,
Yeah, and the KTK.
and also
Okay.
KTK, yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem with KTK was that we didn't do that for children under 5 years old. And the TGMD3 with its 13 items for 3-year-old children, it's a bit long. So
I'm just waving goodbye to the UMD group.
yeah,
Because
me
they're
too.
checking out.
Yeah,
Off
me
to
too.
class.
Yeah. So that is quite long for the 3-year-olds.
Mhm.
But we had to find a compromise, and we did so that with the 5-year-olds, we had one day that we did first the pictorial scale. So we had the perceived motor competence, then we had the tested across motor skills, the TGMD3, and the second day we did the KTK. And we wanted to do the full batteries of those, but then in the second time point we had to select also because they were at school. So with schools it's a bit different and harder to have students for a long time with us. So we had to pick, and we wanted to select some of those items that we had already in time point 1.
Okay, we have to, I understand you have to make some decisions, and time constraints are obviously, as David said earlier, this is an amazing data set, and I commend your government for funding it, which I think is very good. And what we really need is some other countries to do something on the same scale, because I think it would be very interesting to look at these I think Katarina Pesce's looked at these things across a group of people looking across countries as well, because I think cultural differences, I mean, the fact you have ice hockey, in our country, we do play that in our northern states. But in Florida, we don't, well, there's a very good ice hockey team in Florida, but it's always populated by Canadians. So anyhow, I want us to be sensitive to the time. We've lost a couple more people. I want to thank you very much for doing this. As I said, it will be recorded and available once Donna comes up and so on. So thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
And I'm going to end the recording now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone. I got to get going. That was fabulous.